Hello traders, welcome back to another edition of the Weekend Analysis video. I am Taylor Moe with True Trade LLC, and I'm glad you're back with me. We had a bit of a choppy, volatile week, and we knew that could be the case coming in. I had given you guys quite a few numbers on the downside to watch for, as well as different indices, and we kind of never really broke down or broke up from those numbers. We came down, held some critical support that I had noted, and here we are, right? The holiday is now over. Most traders are going to be back next week, and in my opinion, guys, there is a big move coming. I don't know if it's down, I don't know if it's up, but I'm going to give you guys the key information you need to know. At this point in time, we have to realize that a down move can come out of thin air at any time. It doesn't have to be big, right? It can be a pullback as simple as this pullback over here. A couple red days, little chop, some more red, bring us back to some critical levels here and keep the trend going. So let's dive right into it. First of all, on the SPY, I'm going to go down to an hourly chart and kind of break down the price action from this week. Okay, so it was a 4-day week here. Here is the starting day. This was Monday. We had this breakdown candle, right? And to me, right, we always want to keep in mind breakdown candle highs. The market came down to a critical level, a critical zone of consolidation we had here. Whenever there's a zone of consolidation, the market will like to come back and retest that zone, or retest that breakout zone, right? So that was a pretty easy spot to see that the market could bounce. We did end up bouncing, and then we want to obviously keep an eye on this breakdown candle high. Can we start closing hourly above this? If so, we are likely going higher. You can see the first hour of the day here on, what is this, Thursday? We closed below it, closed barely above it, on it, and then boom, we really kind of broke up, and that got that end of the day rally going. So when you know these critical areas that you're looking for, you can often see what the market's going to do. Even before it's broken the highs, you can already have a good idea that it's going to go on for an end of day rally. Okay. Obviously, the news came out about the assassination and the World War III talk and the market fear. Big overreaction, in my opinion. Nothing is solid yet. I don't really get into political BS. I don't like it. I think it messes with people's mindsets, especially when they're dealing with the market. I think it's best to just trade price. So as price was coming down here, guess what? I had my levels. I had this gap marked, and I knew that this would continue to be important, this 323.10. And the first hour of the day, I want to just really quickly go over to the futures and just point out what was going on before the open. Right, before the open, if we go over to like a 4-hour chart, you can see this huge tail candle was formed off of what? Off of this lower breakout area, right? And we were looking for that to be support. We didn't even reach it, right? We didn't reach it. We didn't reach this trend line, and we bounced up very nicely. This closed at 30 minutes before the open right here. And so that immediately gave me the sign that we were headed higher in the beginning of the day. You always want to keep an eye on futures, what they're doing. Whenever you miss a spot that you should retest and you bounce up like that before the open, you can almost always expect an opening rally. And that, well, a lot of money was made by us on that rally. Let's say that was a very volatile, fun rally for day trading. So yeah, when we were looking at SPY on the open, that's what we were waiting for, right? That's what we were waiting for. And then we wanted to keep an eye that we closed above the gap, which we did. And then we have a few trend lines here. And we wanted to watch the breakdown candle high. We got above it, and we came back below, finished the day poorly, back below. And that sends me a warning sign, guys. That sends me a warning sign that this could be a false break right here. It's very possible that we could see more downside, um, and it's not quite clear yet. It's not quite clear, uh, but this definitely is not a bullish sign on Friday. This is a neutral to bearish. It shows a bit of market weakness that we could not hold this level for 2 days in a row when bulls clearly had the chance. They could have held it end of day. You can see this candle comes down, breaks below. This candle tries to get back up, and boom, fails back down. So these green levels, they're all going to be important. These trend lines are from a daily chart. You can see we have been just teetering around with these trend lines here. Trend lines are obviously not as important as price, but the idea is we are close to potentially seeing a bigger pullback here. Okay, so we have to be prepared for that. And I think we can see a big move either direction. I think we can see it up or down. But guys, again, here are my major levels. And I'd really be interested in stepping in and buying at the 319.17. But the one thing that makes me a little bit nervous is that we've already come down pretty close to it. So is it going to hold, right? It might hold initially, but we might head lower to this 317.32. That is if we get downside, okay? If we start trading lower down to this point, that's my really end-all be-all, 317.32. And then, of course, on any larger pullback, I've had this on my chart for a while, 314.10 is an absolute buy, no question about it. This is a huge consolidation area. It's the biggest piece of structure we have on the daily chart, and this is the breakup candle low. I believe this is also a weekly, no, it's not a weekly candle. Okay, so this is a daily breakup candle low. This area would most surely provide very, very strong support for the spiders, okay? That's enough for SPY. Let's go on. Let's look at the financials. Financials have been doing very well still. We know that they've been broken out from these critical trends, and we wanted to keep an eye on the monthly closes. The month closed right here. It closed at 30.78 on the exact same close as the monthly close of the all-time highs, right, back in 2000 whatever. And so this 30.98 was the all-time highs. And you can see we did make new all-time highs in the XLF. We closed at new all-time highs. And the piece of bad news brought the market down. The XLF held support absolutely fine. So there's nothing wrong here, right? Even if we come down, we have this zone. We have two trend lines. So we keep an eye on those areas. There's still nothing wrong here. This is still a bull flag. This is not being rejected. Until and unless we get below this zone here, the XLF is absolutely fine. Right, and even then you have a very big piece of structure here with a gap here, a gap here, a gap here, slightly unfilled. So you have plenty of support on the XLF, right? This thing is definitely not going to die anytime soon, or at least it doesn't look like it, unless something, maybe some big piece of news, some big piece of war news, I don't know. But right now, until the price tells me something's wrong, there's nothing wrong here, okay? We will keep an eye on the all-time highs. If we start to get above, close above, and stay above, then watch out above on the financials. They are looking strong, guys, so until they're not, then they're strong. Let's look at IWM, the small caps. We saw last week we had relative weakness on this daily bar in the IWM. I said I was still expecting more upside long term up to these levels, but we could see a shorter term pullback, and that's exactly what happened. And I gave you guys these exact levels were on my chart. And you can see that we held daily above that top level every single day. And Friday with that gap down, we came up. We couldn't close back above that level. That's noted. But nevertheless, we had a nice strong rally off of that second noted level. And, we are currently holding up nicely. Now, obviously, getting below Friday's lows is really where you'd start to see more trouble, and you'd likely head down to one of these lower levels, maybe even this zone. Maybe even this zone on if we get that larger pullback in the market. There's a few gaps down here, this one here and this one here, and we could look for those to possibly get filled on any larger pullback. This is a major, major, major piece of structure. I would not expect any blow right through that piece of structure. These levels, it's possible, but once we get down to these gaps here, one of these is going to hold and see a very nice bounce. Next, let's look at the Dow Jones Transportation average. This has been kind of the diverging market. We've been keeping an eye on it. Last week, right, we said that it's kind of stuck. It's on a bullish short-term flag breakout, but again, we have the red zone from this breakdown area a long, long time ago that we just can't seem to get past, right? Just can't seem to get past it. But I want you guys to notice the difference between the time we are coming up to this zone now and every previous time we have come up here, right? How many tests do you see? 1, 2, 3. This is 4, and we've been here for what? 2, 3 weeks, right? We haven't rejected whatsoever. That is not bearish, right? This is not long-term bearish for the Dow Jones Transportation average until we get below these pivot lows at 10,500. Okay. Until then, this is a bullish break. It's looking to head back to the top of this channel, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes on to make new highs in the next few months. We're in a bullish market right now. There's nothing bearish about it. And until that changes, I will tell you guys if it changes, but right now, there's nothing bearish about it. This looks like it's heading higher to me. This is holding the support that I noted. That's 10,791. But we also have this 11,067. Until we break above or below either of those levels, we're going to stay in this range. But look at how long we've been in here, right? Volume is picking up. Volume's picking up on a lot of the indices, and I think we could see a move very soon, guys, whether up or down. I think this week, maybe next week at most. I really think this week we're going to see some movement, especially with everyone coming back. Excuse me. Lastly, let's look at the SMH here, okay? Excuse me. The SMH has also just kind of been sitting here. We noted the SMH, excuse me, has this zone that it first came up to, and so this is a zone that was resistance turned into support. Trick & Co. showed up right here on Monday. They broke it down, but guess what? What did we know? We knew there was a gap here, and until we really got below that gap, then there's no serious downside that could be made in the SMH. And so they showed up, and then they showed up again. They rallied up to the highs. The news came out, and boom, we're back around this range. So this chart is a complete mess, right? And so really all I want you guys to pay attention to on this chart is on the downside, this gap. Until we get below that gap, right, nothing's going to happen here. Once you get below that gap, then you have the potential to really come down to this piece of structure here. And whether you stop short here or whether you come all the way down to one of these lower gaps, that will tell us kind of what the sentiment of the market is and how they react at those areas. But again, for now, this is sideways, and until we break that gap, well, it's just gonna keep grinding higher, guys. There's nothing else we can really do with this. It's grinding higher. Okay. And yeah, lastly, let's just look at the futures one more time. If you look at this daily chart here, guys, one thing I want to note is that we actually came up at the end of the day and we closed above the low of the previous day. And again, that's not bearish whatsoever. That's a bounce off of trend line. We missed the key structure on the futures chart. We missed the trend line, and we brought back about half, maybe a little over half of the day's drop. We closed above Friday's low or Thursday's lows. Now, if the market was bearish, if it was breaking down, don't you think we would have closed closer to the lows? Don't you think we maybe would have closed below the trend line, perhaps? Or even closed at this structure rather than bouncing over half the day's losses? I do, and I've seen this many times, and this is usually leading to a move higher. Usually leading to a move higher. So this green line at the top is what we should keep an eye on. This is the breakdown candle high. This also coincides, as you can see, with this high over here. And so, you know, some people might want to call this a head and shoulders pattern, and perhaps it is. Okay, so that's the area that we really have to keep an eye on. And this shows well in the ES because, right, all this drop happened overnight. So, could this be a head and shoulders? Could this be a breakdown to some lower lows? Absolutely, it could. So this is the level 3254.5. That will be incredibly important this week should we trade up to it. Can we start closing over it? Or are we rejected and headed back towards these lows, right? And again, we want to keep an eye on this piece of structure. Is that going to hold? there's a gap quite a bit lower here, but that would be the next real key level that lines up with this weekly trend line that we would want to keep an eye on. So keep an eye on this top level next week. This could be a big tell if we go and test this. How do we react? Definitely keep an eye. That's going to be it, guys. I'm actually going to be doing a Sunday stock talk from now on. I'm going to start that tomorrow, which is Sunday, the 5th of January. So I'm not going to be doing stock picks in this video anymore. If you guys are interested in the stock picks, I'm going to be going live usually around 5 or 6 p.m. This is going to be my first one, so I will, I'll update exactly what the time is going to be officially, but somewhere around 5 or 6 p.m. And I'm going to take requests, and I'm also just going to bring my top picks for the week, go over what levels I'm looking for entry exits and what I'm looking for in those picks. I think it's going to be really beneficial if you guys are interested in learning more and really just preparing yourself for the week. I'd love for you guys to join me for that, and I'm going to post it after as well. So, and that's 5 to 6 Pacific Standard Time. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe, like, and share. Please share. That's the biggest thing that helps me as a small channel. Share it with anybody that could use this. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.